60 minutes. That's all the time left. Heart pounding like steel drums as the seconds passed. Hazel eyes darted back and forth towards any signs of an exit. The aroma of sweat filled narrowed nostrils. 55. Sepia-toned skin slick against the restraints. Small scratchy coughs coming from cracked lips. Chest burning with each breath. 50 minutes. The reminder burning in the back of his skull would vibrate. Ears listened closely to the sounds outside. Deep voices shouting nonsense he couldn't quite understand. The threatening argument grew louder as time ticked on. Looking around again, his pupils dilated in excitement as the discovery was made. 45 minutes on the clock. Ragged breaths heightening as thin limbs wiggled like a worm trying to escape its prey. What would anyone want with him? He was a college student pursuing a case control study. He recalled the statistics of black kids going missing in his city. He'd feel his heart sink to the bottom of his stomach with devastation. Closing his eyes, concentrating, he furrows his brows in uneasiness. Closer. The one word had encouraged him to use his strength, the very little that remained in his fragile body. Redwood curls, feeling fond of the beads of sweat on his forehead, clung on for dear life. Blinding white illuminated from a crevice. He stared for what seemed like an eternity. 40. His head pounded again. He could recall the vehicle from before. Granted, it had been an awful experience. It had been the only time he'd heard English since the previous conflict. 1 hour till our final stop, huh? The gruff voice would chuckle before slamming the door and tapping the hood twice. He would silently thank whatever God gave him that miracle. He focused back on the stream of light casting into the dark space, form being close enough to lean forward, just enough to get a glimpse. Not much could be made out. Tall forms on each side of a narrow point of the convergence. Ashen, slender lines dragged at the bottom. 30 minutes. The singe of panic was back. They were moving. Head drawing upwards, wanting to scream, but to no avail. His throat was dry and raw. 20 minutes ticking away. Giving up. The idea had popped into his mind. Maybe he should just lay down and let fate decide what happens. Almost as if there was someone behind him, pushing his back, he'd take it as a sign. Perhaps another miracle. He frantically searched around, following the glow of the fine light. As if a bell were ringing an alarm, he'd see it. An old, rusty, worn-out screwdriver. Hurtling his body forwards, he landed a rough blow to his torso, having to roll over despite the pain now radiating in his ribcage. Curling his sore abdomen muscles to sit up, hurt. Whipping his neck to the far left, he'd estimate the distance, scooting backward, inch by agonizing inch. Cold steel found its way to calloused palms, perpetually and quickly getting to work, breaking the plastic pieces that felt more like dense chains. Numbness subsided as he felt his blood flow arrive back to his bruised wrists. 10 precious minutes left. Screeching brakes coming to a hard stop, throwing him forwards. Catching himself before kissing the floor, he would hear slam. Did he overestimate the time given? Was this it? Would they kill him? Keys jingling as the lock clicked in a sequence to open. His body moved on its own. He cut the zip ties around his ankles in one swift motion. Now, kid, I'm just doing this for the money. I don't want to hurt you. The thundering voice was written with some kind of southern accent. Dante would glance at the figure before him. The man boring a musty smell, like he hadn't worn deodorant in a week, made him scrunch his nose in disgust. Dante had hardly considered himself to be a kid, as he'd recently just turned 20. Gruff coughing drew Dante's attention back to the heavy-weighted middle-aged man. Looking at the wretched man, he'd memorized a few distinct features. Receding hairline from stress, shaggy eyebrows with a beard to match. Stepping up on wobbling legs before golden light peered in. Sun warm on his face. Peaceful had it almost been. He kicked forward, hearing a thud of the man's skull against the pavement, before using all of his strength to dash. It hurt. Every inch of his body ached and burned, footsteps falling side by side another. He wouldn't dare to look back. This was his one shot of freedom. That excitement swelling in his chest would easily fade as his vision blurred. Feeling his limber body hit the rough asphalt, a figure towering over him. He thought he had 60 minutes.